Hey, everybody, what's going on? Jeff Rieger, another episode of the Daily Ticket. This one for Tuesday, November 7th, 2020. Yeah, gonna pat myself on the shoulder, maybe on the back. I deserve some credit because we're not going to talk about Michigan today. We're taking a day off. Just like the Big Ten is taking a day off from suspending Jim Harbaugh, we have a feeling that it's coming. We're going to take the day off. Only thing we know now, and by the way, full disclosure, this episode is being recorded Monday at 3:30 in the afternoon. The only thing we know is that the NCAA is now joining the investigation with Central Michigan to find out if that's Connor Stalions on the sidelines of the Michigan State game at Spartan Stadium. Newsflash. Pretty sure Central was in on it, but I can't prove that. Speculation, my opinion. But I'm sure more will come out with that. And more will come out with Jim and the potential suspension. So let's take the day off today. Let's have a little fun on a Tuesday as we get ready for Lions and, of course, Chargers. I never thought I could get back to Lions football. I thought it was going to be all Michigan. But I think it was last week. Maybe it was the week before last week. I did a podcast. It was before Halloween. I know that. All these days are running into each other. But I gave you my brother's scary theory. So scary that it rhymes. It was right around Halloween time. It was perfect. My brother, a Broncos fan, grew up in Metro Detroit. Great guy. Been in Detroit his entire life. Dependable guy. Great dude. Great uncle to my daughter. But he's the worst kind of sports fan alive. Back in 1983, he decided that the Lions were not for him anymore. Granted, he was like 8, maybe 9, maybe 10. He decided to leave the Lions and be a Broncos fan. He likes to tell you, I've been Lions free since 83. I don't even think that's the correct date. I think just it's because it rhymes. Kind of like a scary theory. Anyway, the Lions have forced a lot of people to do this. Over the course of your lifetime, either you stay with the team and you're still a fan, or you leave the team because you just can't take the horrible play anymore. So Dave left. And now, and he'll never admit it, he roots against the Lions. He roots for the Broncos, which is weird. We'll get into it. But he roots against the Lions. And this happens all the time. This happens to people I work with. Rico Beard, Niner fan. David Hatchett Hall, Steeler fan. Dave Rieger, my brother, Bronco fan. So much, by the way, that it pretty much defines him. So I thought I'd bring Dave on. He believes that the Lions are good. They're just not. Dave believes we need to pump the brakes on all the fun talk, the Super Bowl talk, the number 1 seed talk. Dave wanted to come on, and I wanted to have Dave on because Dave wants to prove that the Lions just aren't that. They're good. They're just not great. So without further ado, let's bring him on. My brother for my whole life, the great Dave Rieger. Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. What's going on?
You know, living the dream or the nightmare, however you want to look at it.
A man of many words. We'll get into the Lions. We will. But Dave, I love you. You're my brother. How many pieces of Denver Bronco merchandise do you have? You can see, by the way, people, evidence number 1, he's wearing the hat right there. You have bed sheets of the Broncos, do you not?
No bed sheets, no pillowcases. Like you had said in a previous podcast or on the air on your show. I have spent a good amount of money on Broncos merchandise, yes.
What a waste. What a waste. But, back in the early 80s, you decided the Lions were not for you. You're a massive NFL fan. It's your favorite sport. There's no question about that. So you became a Bronco fan. You got to see John Elway and Peyton Manning. You got the see 3 championships. And with becoming a fan, and a lot of Detroiters do this because the Lions piss them off and wear them down and they feel they need to leave. You're soft, no offense. So now you're a Bronco fan. And you also want the Lions to lose because you never want to regret your decision from jumping ship, correct?
Not true. I would say the Lions have always been, since I became a Broncos fan, my comedy. I enjoy watching them. They're
yeah. Doesn't sound like you hate them at all.
That's how I get my that's how I get my jokes on the weekend. They've always been a joke. The organization is a joke. They never won anything. So they give me It's comedy, but I would be happy if for success for the city of Detroit, but I don't think they're ever going to give you the ultimate success of what you're looking for. So, it is what it is with the Lions.
We'll get into it. We will get into your theory that the Lions are good.
The theory is that the Lions are good,
but we will.
They're not elite. Yes.
Okay. We'll get into that theory.
Yeah.
And why you're wrong about that theory, that's fine. But let's get into the psychology of this sickness, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Because you are now a Bronco fan. You've seen 3 Super Bowls. You've watched.
I've seen more than 3 Super Bowls. 7.
You've won 3 Super Bowls.
Correct.
When you've won 3 Super Bowls, you watch by yourself. You don't have the community. You don't live in Denver or Boulder, or I can't even name another city in Colorado. So they won the Super Bowl, and you just sat there by yourself, and maybe you hopped on like Amazon, and you bought some Broncos apparel. Like, how is that even fun? The beauty of being a sports fan, and I know the Lions have sucked for a long time, but the beauty of being a sports fan is the community of it all. Going to maybe a parade one day, going to games and celebrating with your friends, high-fiving, watching together. You don't even know any other Bronco fans. You're a lone wolf. You're kind of like Connor Stallions. You're a lone wolf by yourself. How could that be? How could that be satisfying?
You know what's fun about it is I've watched many games with you. I don't know if we have watched the Super Bowl win with you.
Yeah, sure.
And watching how just absolutely devastated you are when my team wins the Super Bowl and you've never had that experience. That's a ton of fun.
But it's not really your team.
Sure it is.
It's not your team.
Sure it is my team. Why you know what? We both did not have the choice of where we were born.
Yeah, but sports is about birthright.
Well, I mean, I don't agree with that.
Unless you happen to be born in Montana, where you got to choose what team you want to be a fan of, or you want to be born in the UP and you're a Packer or a Lions fan. If you're born in Detroit, you're a Lions fan. And I do believe the fans that leave the Lions are soft as hell, kind of like you.
That's fine. That's fine. So, you know what? I could say the same. I could say the same for you, who, boy, you've hated the Lions for many years, and now all of a sudden, oh my God, you're back. They're great.
Never hated them. Never hated them. I've been very, very, very blunt about the Lions.
You hated them.
I've been very blunt about the Lions, and I've been very honest about the Lions because they've been a horseshit organization for a long time. But now that they're not, now that they got their act together, it's fun being a Lions fan. And you know what, Dave? I don't understand why so many Detroiters left, because you know what's going to happen. And this is your big fear. Then we'll get into your stupid theory. But this is your big fear. Your big fear is the following: that the Lions get good, which they are right now, that they're going to do the unthinkable and win a Super Bowl, and all the sourpusses like yourself and others that jump ship, you won't be able to do anything but be miserable because, and you'll never admit to this, my theory before your theory is when you decide to leave the Lions, you then root against the Lions because you never want to regret that decision. So could you just be honest to the fine people watching? This podcast has quite the following now. Could you be honest to them and just say, I hate the Lions and I hate watching the Lions?
I don't hate the Lions. I love watching the Lions. It's my comedy. I love watching the Lions.
Okay, you said it.
I get enjoyment. I get enjoyment when they lose, and I get enjoyment when they lose in silly ways. And I also get enjoyment with how miserable it makes you because you're not smart enough to learn your lesson when it comes to this team.
What's my lesson?
Your lesson is that they will always let you down. They always have let you down, and they will continue to let you down.
So even though they have an easy schedule, we're talking cake. Even though they're 6-2, second best team in the entire NFC.
Right.
Even though they've really, at least in my mind, have proven to everybody that they're different. They're doing anti-SOL things every week.
Right.
You're still hanging on to the past, and because they've never been successful, they're giving us the beautiful prize. You don't think it will ever happen? And you think a reasonable reason for that is their past? That's stupid.
Well, I think that all you need to do is look at every time they play a good team, what happens.
They played good teams. All right, let's get into it. So your theory is that they're a good team, but they're definitely not elite. And everybody that wants to dream a little bit, like they're going to go to the Super Bowl and get the one
dream all you
seed.
want.
Yeah, just dream, but it's never going to happen.
That's why they call it a dream.
All right, so they're 14-4 in the last 18 games.
Right.
That's more than a football season. In that span, they've beaten really good football teams that you'll never give them credit for.
Who have they beaten? Who have they beaten that's been really good?
They beat Jacksonville last year. They destroyed them. They beat them by 30 points. Now, Jacksonville went on to win a playoff game, and Jacksonville is one of the best teams in the AFC, a tougher conference this year. That doesn't count as a good win?
I will give you the anomaly of their beating Jacksonville to them losing to Carolina on Christmas Eve last year.
It happens.
Okay.
They won 8 of 10 to finish off the season. You're going to have a couple stinkers.
Go through their losses.
Dave, every team, you have to understand, though, how the NFL works. Apparently you don't. You do realize that no team, with the exception of the Patriots, that one year go undefeated. So if you lose a couple games here and there, the other team is still NFL players. As Victor Martinez used to say, the former Tiger, the other side drives Mercedes too. So because you lose a couple games doesn't mean you're a fluke.
How do you explain that they're rolling out this great record over all these teams that are horrible, but yet they Buffalo Thanksgiving they lose. They get Seattle, they lose. Baltimore, they lose. So when they play these good teams, they lose.
Okay,
they beat Kansas City Chiefs without Travis Kelce.
There we go. The big asterisk.
Exactly. So and even Mike Tirico said it was a big asterisk. And he's a more important journalist than you or I ever will be.
Well, first of all, I'm not a journalist. Second of all,
my point to you is, Jeff, that you keep on rolling up against all these cream puffs. But what's going to happen when you go into the playoffs? And we won the NFC North. We won a crappy division, and we get a home playoff game, and somebody comes in and you get beaten. Then
let me answer. Let me stick up for who they have beat first, and then I'll answer your question. Okay. First of all, only losers talk about asterisks, especially in the NFL. Okay. You act like the Kansas City Chiefs are the only team in the history of the world to be without a tight end and a defensive tackle. Okay. And Kadarius Toney dropped 5 touchdown passes. I'll give that to you as well. Dave, how many games have the Lions, and you just said it, how many games have the Lions lost in awful freaking fashion? How many games?
A lot.
Not once did somebody say, oh my God, that's an asterisk for the other team. Oh my God, hold on. In Seattle.
If they were winning, then they would have an asterisk, but they're not winning team.
In Seattle one year, they lose on Monday Night Football because the officials don't know the rules. They got screwed in that game. That's not an asterisk.
No.
Kelvin Johnson against Chicago one time caught a pass, but they called it not complete in the process. That's not an asterisk. Dude, no offense. That is full of shit.
You don't get asterisks for a team that you got to win before you earn asterisks. Okay.
On the start of the NFL season, they went to Kansas City and they beat Patrick Mahomes. And by the way, they came back trailing Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in football and the best head coach in Andy Reid. Right. They won that game, but you don't want to give them credit. But fine, we'll move on from that.
And to take a page out of your book, who just beat Kansas City a couple weeks ago?
The Broncos, big deal.
There you go.
And then who did Kansas City beat over the weekend? The Dolphins. Dude, every good team.
Dolphins don't win when they're not at home. All right, move on.
Good teams lose in the NFL. To expect a good team or a great team to go undefeated is stupid. And you know that, but that's okay. You're trying to fight this or set up this stupid narrative. But let's continue. Okay. You said they beat nobody. You won't give them credit for Jacksonville, correct?
I give them credit for Jacksonville.
It's a fluke. Okay. You don't want to give them credit for Kansas City, correct?
If Kelsey's playing, they lose that game. Go ahead.
Okay. What about the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football at Lambeau Field to knock Aaron Rodgers out of the playoffs?
Oh my
God.
God.
Won 4 games in a row up to that point. They don't get any credit?
No credit. They weren't doing anything.
All right. What about the New York Giants, who you beat at MetLife last year? Then they go on to win a playoff game. No credit there?
How the Giants doing this year? Okay.
Does it matter? It doesn't. We're talking about last year.
No credit.
No credit for there. What about the Minnesota Vikings, who won the division, who came to Ford Field? You kicked their ass at Ford Field. No credit there.
Again, these teams that you're naming aren't elite. I want to know, the only team that they beat that was elite, in my opinion, is the Kansas City Chiefs.
You just said that doesn't count.
And you yourself said that happens in the NFL.
David.
Okay.
David, I
Why aren't you
feel
talking about the Bears? And why aren't you talking
they beat the
about
Bears.
the Raiders they just killed?
Dave, you can only play
You know,
who's on your schedule, number one.
right.
How about this? How about this? Maybe, just maybe, do you agree that the NFL is a league of parity, right? That
Yes.
every point spread, for the most part, is
Right.
like 7 points and lower,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Correct.
The Lions in their last five games, okay?
Mm-hmm.
4 of those games they won by double digits.
Okay, who did they
That
beat?
is slaughtering teams
Who
in the
they beat?
NFL.
Who they
So
beat?
maybe, hold on, maybe that would tell you that they're legit and special or no?
No, who did they beat? Go ahead, tell me who they beat.
The last 4 games,
The
they
four
beat the
games,
Tampa Bay.
the 4 games that they won. Okay,
Yeah,
Tampa Bay.
but they won by double digits.
Tampa Bay just let off 5 touchdowns by C.J. Stroud yesterday, the rookie quarterback in Houston.
Double digits, Dave. That doesn't matter to you?
Not when you're playing this garbage.
Okay, so your theory is that Lions fans are headed for a rude awakening because once they make the playoffs, because they will make the playoffs, once they make the playoffs, they're going to run into a better team and get smacked.
I don't know if they're going to. I'm going to say to Lions fans, enjoy the ride because it's cool. You haven't had it in a long time. Enjoy the ride, but be prepared because once you face a team that's elite and you're not elite, then you're going to lose. And
by the way,
what do you consider is a good season? By the way, Jeff.
What do I consider a good season?
Yeah,
I think you win the division. It's a great season considering it hasn't been done in 30 years.
Well, you changed your narrative then but the other day you were like it's going to be NFC Championship and go to the Super Bowl or bust.
Well, Dave. I mean, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. They seem to be a tad shaky. I think we saw that in the Dallas game over the weekend. Okay, and that happened to be in Philadelphia. The Eagles still have 5 more, I believe, very difficult games against teams with winning records. I don't expect them to finish with 1 loss. I expect the Lions to take advantage of a weak schedule. I expect the Lions to get the 1 seed in the NFC. And even you have to say, all of a sudden, remember when you were like so concerned? Oh, the Niners are so good. The Niners are so good. They've lost 3 in a row, Dave. Yeah, I know they got Chase Young, but they lost 3 in a row. My point to you is the following. The Lions have an easy-ass schedule from here on out. The only really tough team is Dallas. If you want to say the Chargers in LA next week, you could say that too. But then after that, you win enough games. You get home field throughout Ford Field. Hopefully you get the 1 seed. And if you have everybody come to your house, you cannot paint me a scenario that the Lions could not go to the Super Bowl because they could beat anybody at Ford Field with that home field advantage. You disagree with that? Like if the Eagles came to town for the NFC title game, mind you, you're only going to have to play the Eagles or the Niners. Let's say they're the second and third best teams. You're only going to have to play one of those teams if you get the 1 seed. But if one of those teams, let's say the Eagles, come to Ford Field, a team, by the way, that you almost beat last year when you had a shitty defense, and now your defense is so much better. You don't think the Lions could beat the Eagles at Ford Field in the NFC title game?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Not even close? It'd be an Eagles blowout?
I don't know if it'd be a blowout, but they'll lose.
Why are you so sure?
I also don't think they'd beat the Niners. I also don't think they'd beat the Cowboys. And I also don't think they'd beat Seattle. You do not want to see Seattle coming back to town.
So what's the reasoning, though? What's the reasoning? Where do you think they fall short?
They're elite teams. That's why.
But where do you think the Lions fall short, though?
They're growing. They're getting there. They're not there yet. Their defense isn't there yet. They've got one star receiver. Jared Goff is a good game manager. They've got a decent running attack if Montgomery comes back.
The funny thing is, you want to give Casey an asterisk. Do you have any idea how many games the Lions won without having their stars this season? They've won a game without Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've won multiple games without David Montgomery. They've won multiple games without Jonah Jackson. Dave, they're NFL teams. They're NFL teams that they're dominating. They're beating the Pope out of.
Yeah, how do you explain what happened in Baltimore?
Oh, ask Seattle. They got their asses kicked too. Baltimore's a good team. It happens.
That's what I'm talking about.
Every time the Lions have lost in the last 18 games, it's been followed up by win streaks. That's not impressive to you?
All right. Well, we'll see. They got blown out by Baltimore. They beat Oakland. We'll see what they do in Los Angeles against the Chargers.
All right. I'm willing to make you a bet right now.
Okay.
If you're mad enough to take the bet, I think the Lions win the division and win a playoff game. You don't think that's going to happen?
No, I agree with you. They will do that.
But that's not elite. That's nothing. Okay.
No, because they'll lose in the wild card. They won't get the 1 seed, and they'll lose in the divisional round. Congratulations. Good season.
To who?
Any number of the elite teams that are there.
Okay, Dave, I want to ask the people, because we're running short on time. I know you got to get back to work. Dave also works at a radio station. I know you got to get back to work. So let's just ask the people right now. Comment section below, people. This is a guy that made a bad decision one day to leave Detroit, hoping and praying that the Lions would stay bad. So he never had to watch the Lions have success. Because there's no way you believe what you're saying. You have no facts to back up what you're saying. It's personally something that my third grade teacher, remember Miss Bragman in third grade? She had this word hogwash. I think what you're spouting right now is hogwash. But I want to know, comment section below, did the people agree with me?
And what facts do you have to support your theory that they're so great now?
I don't know. They have a top 5 offense. They have a top 3 quarterback in football. They have one of the best receivers in Amon-Ra St. Brown. The ability to run the football. The offensive line is one of the best in the entire NFL. I mean, I can keep going. They're a good football team that is borderline great. Correct. Not to mention, Dave, they're good.
They're not elite.
Not to mention, they have one of the best records in the entire NFL. That doesn't do anything for you? Records don't mean anything anymore. It's about who you played, right?
I just think that they need to beat somebody legit and not have their players out. Players out. We saw what happened when they went to Baltimore. We saw them lose to Buffalo. We've seen them lose to Seattle.
David.
All right.
We'll let the people decide. I need the people to vote on the comment section. Give me your thoughts. Do you buy what Dave Rieger is selling? He's very nice to come on this extremely popular podcast. Or are you with me that the Lions, why couldn't they do something super special? So let me know. Comment section below. And Dave, I just want to ask you a quick question before we let you go. All right? And just think about this. Think about this before you answer. We have a lot of Lions fans that watch this. If I asked the Lions fans to let you back in, would you want to come back to Detroit, Dave? Would you want to dump the stupid-ass Broncos, who, by the way, really suck? Would you want to dump the Broncos and come back to Detroit?
At least the Broncos beat the Chiefs with a full team.
That's what we're doing. How many wins you got? 3? How's that going for you? You going to make the playoffs? No, you're not. Oh, God. Hater, or does he have a point? Let me know. Comment section below. Dave, I do appreciate you coming on here. It's been fun. Can you do me a favor, though? Can you stick with me? Because on the Daily Ticket, we read comments. We read a good comment and a bad comment. I got the good and the bad comment. You want to stick around?
I'm waiting.
Okay. I got to find it. All right. This good comment. This is from Marshall Hatcher, 7787. This is from yesterday's podcast about Jim Harbaugh and Tony Patetti in the Big Ten and what's going to happen if there will be suspension. Marshall Hatcher says, I've enjoyed your content you were posting. Jeff, great job. What do you think about that one?
That's very nice. Very complimentary.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I got another one for you. This one is from Dairy TY Dog, 3437. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Jeff, I used to live in the greater Detroit area and listen to you all the time on the radio. Since moving to the west side of the state years ago, I don't get a chance much anymore unless I come back home to visit my parents. I just want to say, listening to the Daily Ticket now the past few weeks has reminded me how awesome you are to listen to. Your takes are raw and fresh, and your love for Michigan cannot be set aside, and your love for Michigan can be set aside to speak the truth. Keep being you, and always remember, F all the haters. Take care. God bless you and yours.
Oh, very nice.
Very nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we always read a negative one, too. So here's the negative one. This one comes from Wolverine Jump Laverne. All right?
Yep.
Sounds like a Michigan fan, what you think?
Sounds like it.
Wolverine Jump Laverne says the following. I believe this guy is an idiot with a micro penis.
Wow. It's a little harsh.
I even circled it right there. There you go. I believe this guy is an idiot with a micro penis. I'm not exactly sure how you jump to that. That's the first time. That is the first for me. I've been ripped on so many damn times, as you know. Yeah. I mean, one time a guy told me to choke on a matzo ball. Yeah, but the fact that this guy thinks I have a micro penis, like, do I have to prove him wrong, or I could probably just let it go, right?
I would think you just want to let that one slide.
You don't want to prove it, not right here.
I'm good, thanks.
All right, Dave Rieger. I appreciate you joining us. Comment section below if you think Dave's full of it, or maybe he's on to something. The Lions are fine. They're okay, but they're just not special or elite. Dave, thanks for joining us. And if the Lions do something special, we'll get you back on, and we'll try to get you to cry in front of the people, because you will be miserable. One last time.
Lions, if the Lions go as far as you think they're going to go, I'll come back on and I'll eat the crow. We'll see what happens.
One last time. Admit that you regret flipping over to.
I don't regret it at all. Are you kidding me?
How do you even choose? Like, last question. Like, honestly.
Real quick, because I do have to go.
I know you do. You're a very busy man.
But the real quick. Back in the day, in the early 80s, when the switch was made, there was no DirecTV. There was no Red Zone. There was no YouTube TV. There was an NFC game, which was the Lions, and there was the AFC game, and it happened to be the AFC West a lot of the times because they were the 4:00 games. So back then, it was the Seahawks, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. I liked the style. It wasn't 3 yards in a cloud of dust like the NFC and the Lions running was.
Yeah,
it was
Dave,
exciting. And I just enjoyed the Broncos.
But how can you become emotionally attached when you're born in a city and you grow up? Our father, by the way, our late dad, Donald Rieger, great man, he was a massive Lions fan. How turn your back on the team that your father rooted for?
Consider myself,
and hope to have the same emotional investment with the stupid Broncos.
I consider myself smarter than the rest of you. And also, God, it was so good to put championship gear on my niece, your first daughter.
And it's my only daughter.
And it's the only championship gear she's had. It was first championship Broncos Super Bowl. And then tack on Cavaliers because your wife's from Ohio.
Yeah.
And that's all she's ever known. That's all the championship she's ever known.
Listen, if you want to buy my daughter free clothes, I'm totally
you know what? And when seeing how angry you get and how disgusted you get when the Broncos, it's a great feeling.
I haven't been angry or disgusted in quite some time because your team sucks. Anyway, Dave, thank you, my friend. I know you'll continue to root against the Lions. On Sunday, you'll be rooting for the Chargers, correct? Although they're an AFC West team. So do you want the Lions to win that game?
Listen, anything that helps the Broncos, that's fine. But you know what? Watch out, because I will say this. I think the Lions are going to travel. Nobody goes to those games. There'll be a lot of Lions fans there, but be careful. Lions do not do good on the West Coast, and you know that historically.
You're so disingenuous, dude. All right, Dave Rieger, thank you. I don't know. Is that a symbol to people watching?
I think you know what this means.
West Side?
3 rings.
Oh. What a loser. I mean, thank you, Dave Rieger. Everybody, thanks for watching The Daily Ticket. We'll catch you tomorrow on the 8th of November, a Wednesday, and maybe we have more about Michigan. I hope the little respite from Michigan has been fun. I've enjoyed this podcast. Dave probably did. I hope you do. We'll catch you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. See ya.